Okay, now that we have an idea what are the requirements or what could be the requirements that we would be looking for, let's see what can be done for the elicitation. Well, to begin with, what is elicitation? Now, when we elicit something, we try to extract something. So the elicitation is a discovery process. This is the very first stage in the development life cycle. So it's a discovery process. Before that, we have no idea what needs to be done. So we need to be curious. Okay, so we need to um, we need to get curious and try to figure out what is it that could possibly be helpful in understanding what needs to be done. Now, when you work in a new system, it could be a solution for a problem. So it could be a problem that existed. So the motivation for the new system is a fix for an existing problem, or maybe there's no problem in what is existing, but there's a new opportunity that needs to be addressed. Let's say we receive payment with credit cards and debit cards, and now there's a new opportunity to receive payment with Bitcoin, for example. So there's no problem that we're trying to fix, but it's just a new concept or a new opportunity that we want to address. Okay, so in this discovery process of the elicitation, we need to figure out what is that? What is the aim? Are we dealing with a problem or are we dealing with a opportunity? What kind of information that can be helpful for us to figure out the requirements? Where can we find this information? And then we collect it. So the elicitation doesn't end with the requirements themselves. It ends with some documents that can be used to figure out the requirements. Okay. Now, there are some common techniques that could be used. One of them is interviews. You can set up an interview with all your stakeholders in order to talk with them. Now, sometimes interviewing, like if you're a group of stakeholders or have so many people, you don't have to, I mean, it's not realistic to interview them one by one, but you can have a small representative group to interview to collect information from. Okay, now it's very important to take note and keep track of who said what, because oftentimes when you ask the same question to different people, you may find or you may get different answers. So if you don't take notes and keep track of who said what, you may not discover this conflict until later on in the development process, until it is already costly. Okay, so taking note is very important and looking into what you have collected. There are two types of interviews. It could be structured interview, so you can have a set of questions already prepared, or you can have a free flow or unstructured interview. So in that free flow, you just go with the conversation as it goes. Or it could be hybrid, so you can have some questions prepared, but based on answers for some questions, you may find the conversation would go in a different direction. You find like there's interesting information or there's something important mentioned that you need more clarification on. So you start diverging a little bit or diverting a little bit from the plan, but you already have the prepared set and you need to uh, still go through it if it's more important. But you have to keep your eye open on what is important and what could be uh, better focused on for the future. Now, facilitated workshops, let's say, for example, you discovered there is a conflict in the answers. So you had a question and different people give you different answers. So you may convene, you sit together, and you can try to clarify this conflict or the conflicting answers. Okay. Now there are different reasons, like that this type of event or workshop is not educational. It's more like a discussion-based um, event. And now the focus group is more education-based event. It's when you meet with experts or people who have expert opinion in order to get their feedback or clarifications. The brainstorming is a creative kind of setting. So when you're not clear what to do or where to go, a brainstorming session would be a good idea because in this type of sessions, you try to generate ideas. Okay, so it's not clear. You get a point, you're stuck, you're not clear where to go or what to do or what you need to be done. So we just, okay, let's have a brainstorming session and try to really generate ideas. Now, questionnaires and surveys, when you have a group of stakeholders that has so many people, it can have a questionnaire sent out to all of them so that you can collect as much information as possible from as many as many of them as possible. You may remember the questionnaire that Western sent out when they were considering the switch of the learning management system. So there are two types of questions that could be in the questionnaire. It could be closed-ended or open-ended. So closed-ended, it's just when you have the question have like a so kind of like multiple choice or set preset answers. You choose one of them, and open-ended when you have like an open uh, text box and you can write whatever you want in it. Document analysis, when you are working on a system that let's say generate reports, so the reports that already existed is something very important for you to look at and try to analyze and understand in order to verify what needs to be done. Reports, transactions, letters, okay? So any documents that are relevant to the system is something that you would like to look into. Interface analysis, if there is an existing software interface. So um, so in the interface analysis, when you have multiple components interacting with each other, you need to figure out what is the how are they interfacing, okay? How is the interaction happening? The interoperability, like how is the interaction between the multiple components happening? So that's important to analyze as well. Now, prototypes, so we've talked about prototypes before. Or sometimes there's no way that we can actually figure out what needs to be done until we see at least a sample of it. So a prototype is just a miniature version of the system that could be functional, okay, so that we understand how the system is going to behave. But a good alternative when we don't have to have it functional is to create mockups or wireframes. So the mockups or wireframes is just the screen, like you create the shape of the screen, okay, as if it was the system. It is very efficient because it gives you an idea how the system is gonna look like, and you may annotate it with information how is it gonna behave, but it doesn't cost much. It doesn't require a lot of time to be created, so it is very efficient in that. So when it doesn't need to be functional, then so if it needs to be functional, then create a prototype. Doesn't need to be functional, then mockup would be good. Now, this is a kind of overlap between the design and analysis because when you create a mockup, you're trying to design how your solution is going to look like. Okay, so that by definition, that should be part of the design stage. But sometimes it's very difficult to know what needs to be done until you actually see it. Okay, so it can be seen as an overlap between the two stages. Now, observation. Now, when you have uh, a situation that the task or the requirement cannot be articulated properly, so you can just sit there like a fly on the wall, job shadowing, just watching what people are doing and trying to learn about it through observation. If there is an existing system, that's definitely looking at it might be a good idea, but you have to be careful because this system needs to be replaced for a reason. So You want to look at it with a critical eye so that to make sure that you don't repeat the disadvantages. So if there's any disadvantages or any cons, you have to make sure that you don't repeat them when you create your new system. You just keep what is good and remove what is bad. All right, and also a good source of ideas would be similar systems. So other people are creating, it's hardly that you can work on a system that is not done before, unless you get a like a crazy idea. But oftentimes you at least will find something or a system that is very similar to what you need to be done. So obviously you're not gonna be copying and pasting, but at least you can find good inspirations, good ideas when you look at the similar systems that already exist. All right, so now we are going in the next video, we're going to talk about the requirements elicitation success factors.